Okay, let's talk search engine optimization, or SEO for short. I'm going to attempt to demystify search engine optimization in less than 10 minutes, so wish me luck. So what exactly do we mean when we say SEO, or again, search engine optimization? The term is generally accepted to cover any and all efforts you make to get your website to show up in Google and the other search engines when searchers type in a particular search term or keyword phrase. Those terms can be used interchangeably. That sounds simple, but what are those things? What are those efforts that can get your website to actually show up? Let's take a look at a search term, work from home. Now, what is it about this particular website right here that makes it actually show up first? I mean, as you can imagine, it's pretty valuable to be number one for that term. It gets about 90,000 searches per day, which means that about 40,000 people per day will visit that site. Now, it's based on studies. That's about the piece of the pie that you get for being number one in the search engine listings. Well, first of all, we notice a couple of things right away. The title of that page has the search term in it, and the description that shows up also has that search term in it. So, and this makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Google looks at that page and sees that it's about work at home and says, okay, I guess I'll show this site to people who are searching, for that term. Well, that was easy. So all we have to do is have our page be sort of about what we want to show up for, right? But there are about 19 million other pages, literally. It's not a guess, I researched it, that say they're also about work at home. Now, what made Google just pick just that one, and for that matter, the other 10 that you see? Well, it stands to reason that there are other things at work here, rather than just what the site says, the content of the site. And that's what we call on-page SEO, simply meaning, what can we do on the physical site, the content of the page, to influence search engine rankings? I guess there are other things that we need to do if we want to show up for a given search term. Well, there are many things at work in Google's mysterious algorithms that are off-page, right? They have nothing to do with what's on the site. And these things determine who shows up first. And it's a closely guarded secret exactly what those are, for obvious reasons. If you knew, you could game the system. But we do know the four biggest factors. The first is what we just saw, what's on the page. What's the page about? And notice I talk about pages, by the way. All too often we confuse pages with the whole site. It's pages that show up in the rankings. Many times it's the home page or the main page of the site, which is why people confuse sites and pages. But we actually perform search engine optimization on the individual pages at that level and not at the site level. Each page can rank for something completely different. So as I said, the first factor is what's on the page, but surprisingly, it's nowhere near the biggest factor, okay? Second factor is age. In general, all other things being equal, the older a website is, the higher it will rank. That's just a simple assumption that Google has made. If it's older, it has to be sort of better, more complete, more relevant. Certainly the older I get, the more comfortable I get with that assumption. The third factor is what's called PageRank. Now, Google assigns a number, a value, to every page that it knows about online, and it uses that number to determine the page's importance. And we'll talk about how to become more important and how to have a higher page rank shortly, but again, sort of all other things being equal, the higher your page rank, the higher the importance of that page, the higher that you'll show up in the search engine listings. And the single biggest factor, and I mean like 80% of the problem, or 80% of the solution, is what other sites are linking to your site. And even more specifically, how important are the sites linking to yours? How relevant are those sites that are linking to yours? And how exactly are they linking to your site? Now, we already know how Google determines importance by its own PageRank score. So the higher the page rank of a page that links to your page, the more important that link is when Google is looking at it. It's sort of like being introduced to someone important, by a mutual friend that's famous or important as well. It carries more weight than if a stranger were introducing you, somebody off the street. And this is also how your pages get higher page rank. The more links to your page and the more important those links are, the higher your page's page rank will be. So linking is critical for search engine rankings. It is the most important thing to worry about. It affects the rankings directly, right? But it also affects the page rank, which is a factor as well. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone. Now, more and more, Google is also taking into account the relevancy of the links that you have to a page. The more relevant a link is, it comes from a site or a page that's somehow related to what yours is about, the more weight is placed on that link's importance when Google determines ranking. Now finally, the way that the site links to you controls where you show up in the rankings, and we call this anchor text. You know, when you go to a site and there's kind of a bold word or it's underlined in blue or a phrase that you click on that links you to another page, well, that text that you see that's clickable, that's called the anchor text. And Google's algorithm says, that sites that link to another site using that specific text are really telling what the site's about, right? If you say, dog training here, and dog training is the clickable word, it's about dog training, the page you're going to. So Google uses that to determine which keyword phrases to show that website for. Now, the classic example of how important this is to do a search on the term click here. And you'll see that the #1 website that shows up for that, very competitive term, lots of pages try, is for the Adobe Acrobat Reader. Now, nowhere on the page does it say anything at all about click here. But millions of pages link to it saying click here, underline, bold, to get the Adobe Acrobat Reader. It really shows that the links and how the links are set up are the most important in Google's eyes, way more important than what's actually on the page. Okay, so kind of putting this all together. To rank for a search term, and this is what SEO is. Everything is just tactics and to accomplish this. There are 3 key things you have to do. Your page content needs to be about that search term, and we call that on-page SEO. There are things you have to do on the page to be able to tell Google, or so Google will understand that yes, this page is about what you want to rank for. Number 2, if you can, you should have an older domain. You can use an older one you have, you can buy an older one. This is really not as important as it used to be though. And finally, the most important thing, links. It's all about the links. Links from high page rank sites, links from relevant sites, and links with the anchor text that equals what you're trying to rank for. Okay, because remember, the backlinks have 2 effects. They increase the page rank, or the importance of your page, and they have the most direct impact on the actual rankings. Okay? So to win at search engine optimization, you simply have to do those things better than everyone else who's trying to rank for that term. If you do, then you'll show up higher than they will. It's as simple as that.